Right, guys. Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, buonasera, bellissimi. Looks like the countdown didn't work straight away, so that's a really good start. And welcome to another episode of the MLM Podcast with me, your host, Max Lombardia, and of course, our favourite AC Milan uncle, Gino, who joins us from his fantastic-looking garden room. Look at that. Look,
I know it's a state right now. You can't see all the other mess.
No, that looks good. Posh. I like it.
I like all your memorabilia there, all your jerseys.
See my AC Milan shirts and stuff, whatever. Didn't show.
Have you already built this year's jersey?
I haven't. No, I'm waiting. I don't want to buy it until I know players are for definite because I am too scared.
And also giving Jerry Cardinale your money.
And giving Jerry Cardinale my actual well-paid, well-earned money. So what I'm thinking is, I want Teo on the back, 19. That's what I want. But I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to jinx it. Last time I bought a player on the back was Tonali because I thought it was an absolute shoe-in. Touch wood. And it's already sort of sat in my... It's not even up here, actually. I think it's in my wardrobe. Anyway, look, guys, welcome to the MLM Podcast. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining live again. We had such fun last time doing it. We've tried it again. This time I've been a bit fancy. We've got a bit of a background. We've got the MLM Podcast logo in the top corner. And obviously just below you can see the stream. So please follow us. You can get me on Twitter at Lombardia, Max capital L capital M. You can follow the podcast page at MLM Podcast 01. I did say in the last pod it would be great to have some actual Milan accounts follow and not just boobies. That would be great. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but I've said it.
I've had lots of the latter.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying a lot of it is just bots. So a lot of things which make no sense. The liking things which aren't there to be liked as well, which makes me really worry and be curious about the state of bot farms in Russia and China. What you doing, lads? Come on.
It's when you do a tweet and you get a like from like some Pamela lady, and you're like, Pamela really appreciates my Milan tweets, and then you open it up and you're like, that's not
follow my OnlyFans channel, sure.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And then they send you, and then if you follow back, Gino, they send you links and stuff. Don't follow back by accident. Whatever you do, don't.
I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that. I'm busy this afternoon. What is going on? What? Come on, Twitter. Fix it, Elon. And also your daft cars. Anyway.
It's really bad. We just like some more Milan content, people, please. That would be great. Look, we're going to do a short one today, guys. I'll call it a bite-sized episode, if you will. Half an hour stint on the last couple of weeks since we last spoke. A few things going on. We'll talk about the first official actual signing of the summer. We'll talk about that little game friendly against Rapid Vienna in Austria. And we'll talk a few other bits of transfer and whatever whilst having a little chat around what's going on. So, look, let's get straight into that game then. So, first friendly of the season, over to Rapid Vienna in Austria. A chance for Fonseca to get a run out, have a look. 2 weeks is not a lot of time to be able to do much really with the team. And it does need to be said, a lot of the players missing, a lot of starters, a lot of the rotation players who are coming back from international duty. There's still some transfers to do. This isn't a complete Milan by any stretch of the imagination. So actually, overall, not a bad game in total. So if I just go through the game really quickly without going into all the detail, we haven't got all day. So 6th minute, Rapid Vienna started much better than we did. But to be fair, they are way further ahead in their preparation than we are. They're very close to the beginning of their season. So actually not a bad team to try and see where we are fitness-wise. But 6th minute, they hit the post on a really good chance. Again, almost hit the post again in the 8th minute. So really out the boxes, Vienna. They looked much better. They were better prepared, like I just said. Right. The game was balanced in the sense that we were good with possession, even with the players that aren't going to be part of our starting 11 rotation players. We did look good in transition. We made some good moves with the ball. You can see snippets of difference. You can see something going on, but it's far too early to tell. So before you get the Pioli people and the Fonseca ball and all that kicking in already, a bit of Galama, a bit of chill, a good opportunity to see what he's done in 2 weeks. However, we did take the lead in the 60th minute. Really well worked goal. It's Maldini, great cross into the area. Good finish from Florenzi, who seems to be now playing centre mid or defensive centre mid, which he looks quite good in actually. And we went 1-0 up. A bit later on, there's a real clear penalty not given on Salamakers. Literally, defender kicks him in the back of the leg. VAR gives that 100% every day.
Right.
Ref didn't give it. Fine, whatever. It's only a friendly. And then our second half team was a little stronger, I thought, than the first half. There was a few more players in there, a bit more lively. However, 88th minute, classic Milan defending, really bad defending from Milan. Cross straight into the area. Rapid Vienna player on his own in the middle. Both centre backs have come towards the front post. This guy's got ages. I mean, he takes a bad touch. He's still got time to recompose and shoot. The keeper, who is a new keeper, Toriano, someone.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Get a slight hand to it, but I think it's Tomori in the actual goal itself misses the ball. And it's 1-0. I think on contrast, the draw was fair enough. I think, like I said before, what you get out of this game is you get a Milan team that looked okay against a team that is well into its preparation, already about to play a European qualifier, already ready for the league. So actually, maybe Rapid Vienna should be a bit worried considering their fitness levels against ours, to be fair. Nothing massive to take from this game, just a run out, some Fonseca plays.
You nearly said it. Don't say it.
Plays. Yeah. Some bad defending, bits and bobs to kind of take away, but I wouldn't bank your money on this game to try and predict the season. I'll tell you that for now. Okay. Even though there are people that are already doing it. I mean, there's a headline from Sport Mediaset which sort of talks about a false move from Milan. Like, come on, it's the first game. Literally
2 weeks.
Stupid headline. I know you didn't see much of it, Gino. Any first thoughts just on the result or on what you saw from a highlight reel or anything like that?
I just saw little bits, snippets. I was in a field all of Saturday taking photos. So
you might want to give some more context.
I do actually. It was for a festival. It wasn't just a random field or just me and other, drilling. Yeah. It was for a festival.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to see the game live, and I've only seen little snippets just here and there on social media. So I can't possibly comment even just about how if there's any change in transition or if there's any difference or improvement in the actual defending, and based on what you've said, I can tell there isn't. Hi, Lab Gorilla.
Hello, mate. That's our first proper comment.
It's our first proper comment.
Look at that.
And it says vote for Trump, which we're both not eligible to.
No.
But if we could, would you?
I'm not talking politics.
Right. Well, I'll answer on my behalf. Hell no. No. Hell no. I know you're kidding. And we will keep calm, but he is an incoherent mess who looked like he had I don't even want to say what it looked like he had on his ear last week. So let's move on from that, shall we? Anyway.
Yeah. Let's keep it AC Milan related. Otherwise, we could be here all day, I think.
Yeah. And you don't want to hear the impression either, so.
Well, we've heard your impression before.
Oh, you have, haven't you?
Yeah. It was very good. It was good. Not gonna lie. Thank you, Lab Gorilla. Really appreciate joining live as well. Sorry, Gino. Where were we? So
so I can't possibly comment. I mean, obviously, Fonseca needs more time. The team needs more time. It'll have its pre-season friendlies. There'll be the Trofeo Berlusconi coming up as well in August, which is always end of July, beginning of August, and it's around beginning of August. They'll probably do those things as well, where you're playing 45 minutes. Kind of a half, and there's 3 teams involved in it, or 4 teams. They're going to have their summer tour as well. So there's going to be things that will be going on which will allow him to improve. But really, the only thing that I would carry caution on judging Fonseca a bit too early. And, any listener to the podcast knows where my thoughts have been on Fonseca and the statistics which I can pull out about the defensive elements. Is that I am concerned about defense. I do think that we need the reinforcements there, and we're going to go to that in a second. However, finding more than just a reinforcement as a solution is going to be key. So what I mean by that is strategy. What I mean by that is actual deployment of players, where they're going to be, how they're going to be told to play. It's going to be a key element. We can't afford to concede 40 goals, 50 goals a season and hope that we score 90. Okay, it's not going to be good enough. We're not the kind of team that I think is capable of that right now. But equally, I don't want that to be something that we almost get used to. I also don't want us to be a Brexity ball, Allegri, 1-0, 88th minute, it's boring, and then we only get one goal then. So give Fonseca time, allow him to have his pre-season friendlies, allow him to build the squad that he needs, offload some players, but buy some players, invest. That's been the biggest thing that I've been noticing over the last few weeks, 2 weeks, or certainly since the last time we spoke. There is a lot of frustration and anger coming out from this. So, I can't possibly comment on the team, but what I can say, some of the stuff I've seen, I can't say I can see a massive leap, but I wasn't expecting to either.
That we can only talk about speculation with the transfers, and we can only talk about what people are reporting. And I do always wonder how much of it is actually true. So, what we've actually offered, what the conversation actually looks like, what Fellaini, Moncada, Ibrahimovic, what their actual roles are in these negotiations. However, I think you make a really good point then when you talk about, it looks like we're lowballing. We're lowballing like everything. So, a team wants, 20 million, we offer 10. A team, they want the player, we seem to agree the personal contract with the player really quickly. It seems like we're pretty good at that. And then we kind of just falter for ages with the team that we're trying to buy from.
I mean, look at it this way. Let's say you go for another job somewhere. Okay. And this happens to, the majority of people. But let's say you want to go to another job and you're working within a very specific industry. You go to the interview. You will more than likely have applied through a recruiter, especially in a specialized kind of industry like IT, engineering, something like that, medicine. You might go through a recruiter. The recruiter will say, well, your salary is now, let's say, 60,000, as an example. So you're already kind of mentally agreeing to that. Oh, yeah, well, I'll take that because it's an improvement on what it was I was getting before, or it is where I think my market value is, right? I've agreed that's personal contract. Then you go for the interview. And then management comes in and says, we only want to give 50. And it's very much like that. It's like that what's happening. Because it's almost like, well, the purse strings aren't controlled by the recruiter. So in this case, the people who are agreeing these personal terms, I think, are agreeing just to get them to agree to personal terms, to get them to have the conversation in the first place, rather than it being a realistic offer. Now, lowballing only works if all the parties are aware of it being a potential lowball. I'm only worth, let's say, 50,000, and I know I'm only worth 50,000, but I'm saying 60,000, yes to 60,000 because it's more, but actually, I'm willing to take the 50 in that recruitment analogy. So for a player, well, actually, my market value is only really about 15 million. But I'll say yes if they're willing to give me 20. Then the management steps in and goes, no, we want 20. And it's like all of a sudden all we're willing to give is 10. It just doesn't seem to make much sense as a strategy, long term anyway. I think there are more creative ways as well to get players. Do you want to talk about the Mercato for now?
Yeah, so I think that's a really good way of going into it, really. So let's talk about some of the things that we know are happening. So, for example, Simic. So I think Giancarlo Simic has divided opinion amongst quite a lot of Milan fans. And the strategy that Milan have taken has also divided opinion. So We know that Simic is on his way to Anderlecht in Belgium. He's gonna sign for them. Looks like Milan are going to get a total reward of €3 million and then a 20% resale value on top of that. Daniele Longo reports that Milan had offered 300,000 a season for him, which would have made him one of the highest paid youth players in Milan setup. But it sounds like it wasn't about the money. It was more about him having to play in the Milan Futuro Serie C rather than get some first team football. He had 1 year left on his contract as well.
Yeah.
And he goes off to Anderlecht, a young prospect player, which we kind of talked a lot about last season. Why isn't he playing? Why isn't he in the starting 11? Why isn't he getting minutes? We've got an injury crisis. We're having to pull defenders back from on loan. Guy didn't play a lot, but he scored a goal. He looked good in most of the games that he played.
Strong.
Yeah, he was strong, physical, capable, moldable. But yeah, he walks off for 3 million. Now, there's two counterparts to this one. You've got the glass half full, which is, well, we could have lost him on a free. He only had 1 year on his contract. We got 3 million for him. We've got, we've lost much better players at zero because we haven't negotiated on time. But for me, I'm kind of sat here thinking we could have done that much better. We could have got a much, much better deal in selling that player. I'm not saying we should have kept him. I'm not the guy that's saying we should not have got rid of him. We should have kept him at all costs, youth player, blah, 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 homegrown talent. I'm saying if you need to make money on someone, you need to make money on it. But 20% resale, only 3 mil to Anderlecht. I think we've done ourselves a problem there. I think we've got an issue coming along when he does well, which I think he will, and he'll be worth a lot more money, and he'll go for a lot more money to a bigger club. We're going to get a 20% resale value. It feels like some short change to me. In terms of the setup, well, we've hired a manager to play youth. I thought that's the whole point of this manager. And the first thing we've done is got rid of youth. Now, I'm not saying that he is the reincarnation of Paolo Maldini. What I am saying is that he looked good enough to be able to get some minutes, Coppa Italia, some of the group games of the Champions League when we're up, some of the games in Serie A when we're winning, give him a run out, maybe even increase his value for January. I don't know. Get his contract extension done, pay him, put him on loan. Lots of different options for me. What are you thinking with Simic? I'm thinking glass half empty sort of thing. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm probably the same as you. I can't disagree. I think it is a glass half empty. I think when we saw him last year and he made those appearances, or last season when he made those appearances, he looked strong. He had leadership type of qualities as well. Commanded, his presence in areas very well. Got the goal, as you say, which as a youth player to get a goal, it's a pretty big thing. Mm-hmm. And also, okay, you don't want to play in Serie C. So does Milan have plans to bring in 2 central defenders? Essentially. It kind of feels to me like Milan is living with a bit of the trauma of losing like Donnarumma on a free and other players on a free.
Yep.
Therefore, they're like, well, we can't allow that to happen. But again, I think he's probably undersold. I think if you offer him to something like an Arsenal, you would have got 10 million, or for Tottenham. And also, if your strategy was to buy that right back from Tottenham, could have been part of the deal. See, so that's why I was saying towards the end of my last comments about there being a bit more of a creative way of selling players, a bit more of a creative way of doing the mercato. Mm-hmm. Player switches out. You could like what Maldini got very, very good at was a 3-year loan with option to buy. We pay the wages, something like that. There are different ways to be able to bring in the players, to build up your squad, to fill in the gaps that you have. And right now, it just appears that we don't have that. And with Simic, I think that was actually more of an endemic thing that Milan has right now, of being unable to kind of look a bit more forwards and say, well, could I have got more for him? If the answer is no, if they've already made their approaches, and of course we're doing this without the knowledge of how many approaches they've had or anything like this,
No.
But if you're saying, right, okay, well, we've been forced into this, so we've got to get rid quick. But you've got to, I think, also just be a little bit more convincing with your strategy around this stuff. So yeah, big glass half empty for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like you just said, we don't actually know. We don't know 100%. We can only go on what we're told.
He could have, for example, he could have been offered to a Bologna, right, as a loan deal. And then Anderlecht come in and say, we'll take him off your hands for like a few million. And you kind of go, well, do I want to give him as a loan deal with the knowledge that we're never going to buy him back, or do we get some money for him now? Or is it that he goes to Bologna, or does he go to something like somewhere in Germany, another young German side, for example, and they take him? I agree with you, though. I think we'll see his name come back up in a season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, and he's getting sold for bigger money. I think he had those kinds of qualities. That's me.
Well, I think I don't blame him also for wanting to leave. Like you've played in Serie A, you've done a half decent job with the minutes you did get, and now they want to put you in Serie C Milan Futuro and then sort of yo-yo you between the first team and the second team. Well, maybe he has ambition and he thinks, you know what, screw that, I'm going to go play top flight somewhere. And Anderlecht, okay, I'm not being disrespectful to the Belgian league in any shape, or form. It's not as good as Serie A, obviously, but Anderlecht is still a good team. It's still a European team. It will play European games. So
yeah,
I can't blame him. Right, so let's move on from Simic to another defender. So today or yesterday, the news was that Milan have offered 18 million euros to Salzburg for Pavlovic. Very close to what Salzburg want for him now. Apparently, they're saying they can finish it with bonuses. Player wants to play for Milan. We talked about this in the last podcast. Big bloke, good with his feet. I'm quite happy with this. We just need to get it over the line quickly. I think this week will be a big week for us transfer-wise. We need to get some of these players in, and we need to do it fast now. We're running out of time. So, thoughts on Pavlovic? Final thoughts?
Really happy with it. Bring him in. Let's just put him. Let's just get him into the mix already. Yeah. Let's get him working that relationship with Tomori and the others. Fine.
He's on 700k wages now. We're going to double him to 1.5, 1.6 mil. It's still, in the grand scheme of things, for professional footballers, that's not a lot, really.
It's not a lot of money, and also we've got the money.
Yeah,
we've got the money. Mm-hmm. I mean, what, the 3rd year in the row that we've now, fatturato in profits. We've basically been a profitable football club, which is rare.
Yeah.
We've got the money. Shake that till, empty your pockets, lads. Come on, let's get some players in.
Yeah. What's the point of all this self-sustainability if you're not going to use it when you need it? Pavlovic looks like he's coming in, so that should reinforce the defence. I haven't heard many more rumours of any other defenders being linked with Milan at the moment.
No.
It might now be a case of someone needs to go for someone else to come in defensively. Feel like we're still missing. We were linked heavily with the right back. Kalulu now looks like he might play right back. He was used at centre back a little bit in the.
Yeah, I think there was a comment, and it was Martino that tweeted it, which was about. Sorry, that's the next door neighbour's dog just going mental at another dog. If you can hear that, it's the Martino tweeted, which was about, there was a comment that Fonseca made, which we were lacking leadership qualities or captaincy kind of qualities, something like that, of that nature.
He did, yeah, right, yeah, he did say that, yeah.
And Calabria was playing. I don't know if that's a shot across the bows, but I think Fonseca will be aware that there is a contract negotiation going on with Calabria.
Yeah.
He wants more money. I think that's Fonseca's way of also saying, you got to prove it. I do get a feeling that we won't see much more of Calabria.
Let's see if he's got any balls, Gino, because if you're complaining about leadership, you change the captain, wouldn't you?
Oh, I changed the captain.
Yeah, change him.
I mean, I would also, in a way, have done it under the guise of I'm the new manager and I want to pick the captain. Not, I'm going to see you play, see how bad you actually are, based on, rather than just based on all the stuff I see on Twitter about you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah.
I would change captain if I was Fonseca. Yeah. Come in, power move, lacking leadership. You're not the captain anymore. And I was thinking back because there were some tweets. Huh?
And who would you give it to?
Give it to Teo. Give it to Hernandez.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, though, I've seen some tweets recently where people are like, well, it's, the Milan captain has always been done on appearances and whatever. And I actually thought back and I thought, no, it hasn't. There have been times where we've chosen players that don't have the highest appearances, but they've been Italian. So, for example, Montalivo was made captain after all the Senators left, but he didn't have the most appearances. He just fitted the mold of the Berlusconi, Galliani, Italian player, and then when he went, it was Romagnoli. Romagnoli didn't have the most appearances, but again, he was Italian. So Calabria fits the Italian most appearances, but maybe it's time we use a leader, not just an Italian. And I look at the team and I think, who else is it going to be? It's got to be Teo. It could be Mike, maybe. But I stick that armband on Teo's arm and I say, right, Teo, this is stop the pissing about now. Stop the foolery. You're the leader now. This is your.
I get it.
Yeah,
I do get what you're saying. And I think this goes to a wider point. And actually, we've got somebody who wants to come onto the podcast to talk about this. Something I should have said to you probably off air.
Yeah,
we'll do it live on air. And if Lab Gorilla, if you want to join us at some point one day, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah.
But it was my friend Alex Galantino, and he was talking about Milan's identity. And Milan's identity has always been inherently Italian. And what we're doing is we're avoiding Italian talent. And I think by keeping the captain Italian, I think it pacified as well a lot of the talk of where Milan was as an identity of a club. But further to that, I think what it also does is it just allows us to. I think we do need Italian players, but I think we need to be that club that spurs a new Italian generation of players. And by the way, the under-21s who are playing right now are doing Italy a justice that the senior team didn't do. It's under 20.
The 19s?
The 19s, my part.
Zeroli in that, isn't it?
Yeah, with Zeroli, Camarda. They won last night, won 3-2. Some incredible goals. Incredible goals.
They lost. They lost last night.
No, we won, didn't we?
No.
I saw it 3-2.
I think we lost 3-2 against Ukraine.
Oh, right. Sorry. We lost. All right. So we lost last night.
Yeah, but it was the reserve team because he'd already got through. So he played he didn't play.
I'm checking this now because I've made an absolute balls up on live. If the internet just goes down, that's because I've now lost
that's fine. It's all right. Yeah.
Anyway, but they're playing in a way that is attacking, that is aggressive, that is phenomenal. But you look at that's a lot of Italian youth, and we've got 4 players in that squad.
Yeah.
Right now, as it stands, and they're going to be the ones going into this Milan Futuro. Why? You've brought Fonseca in specifically to bring these guys forward. Now, okay, I guess with the Kamada, it's a bit more the legality of it. But why? Why are we avoiding these things? And also, here's my other prediction. It's a weird prediction. Corradi could potentially be the next Italy manager. I've just got this feeling that Italy's going to go down this. They've seen what they did in Spain. They saw what Southgate did. You know, these coaches that come up through the years and the youth ranks to then take on the national team, they make these bigger, bolder decisions that usually wouldn't be considered.
Yeah, they play the youth, don't they? Yeah.
And I think Vidic wants to keep it without the politicians then getting involved, because it's always been politicians won't touch us. Trust me, the politicians will start touching you if you start having issues. So I could see Corradi in a few years becoming the next Italy manager, but that's a different thing altogether. Do we want to round off?
Right. Let's move on because we're nearly there. So a couple of things that definitely happening. So Romero to Alves in La Liga. It's a loan with option for 7 million. Yeah, fine. Get some money for a player we got on a free. Not a problem for me. Salamanca rumours. So we're here in Leicester. We're here in Napoli. We're here in 20 mil as well, floated around, which is a very good price for Salamanca. So I'd take that.
I'd carry him on my shoulders all the way to Napoli if I had to.
Absolutely. He did look good in that pre-season game, but we've seen Salamanca's up and down for Milan.
Yeah.
So I'm not against selling him, especially for that price, especially if it gives us 20 mil to then go and buy another player with.
Could you imagine him though under Conte? I could genuinely see like a Giaccherini V2.
Like he wants him for his versatility, is what I've read. So I mean, when Conte wants
right mid, he can play left mid, he can play centre of the park, he can play up top, he can do all sorts.
When Conte wants functional, he normally does pretty well with them. But 20 mil, I mean, a lot of people are saying sell him abroad rather than in Serie A, which I get. But I mean, if you get 20 mil offer, I'd just take it immediately. He is not a bad player, but I don't think his ceiling is particularly high. So you're going to get to a point where he's not going to push it. He's not going to go further. Right. And then I suppose the last sort of big rumour, and then we'll talk about the two definite. So Samardzich from Udinese.
Yeah.
So I'm really keen on this player. I think he's a really good player. He can play attacking mid. He can play centre mid. He would fit our system nicely. His price valuation has dropped quite considerably in the last sort of 12 months after he sort of failed that move to Inter because of his father agent and whatever.
Yeah.
Sounds like this morning, again, rumour mill, Milan have made a 15 mil bid for him. Udinese sound like they want 25, which I don't think, again, is a bad price for him. I don't think. However, we might have hit the jackpot on this one because they're also reporting that we might be able to send Pobega the other way. So we might end up with sending Pobega to Udinese and get Samardzich for a cut price within our budget. I mean, I would do that in an absolute heartbeat.
Yeah, do that.
Like if you value Pobega between, I don't know, even if you value him at 10 mil, which I think is a fairish 8 to 10 mil, you've done it. That's a great. That will strengthen your midfield and it gives you a better option as well to come off the bench if you move stuff about. There is talk about having to sell Benacer, having to sell Adli, etc., but none of that's concrete yet. And there's lots of rumours for Benacer going to the Saudi League, but nothing yet is actual concrete with that either.
You see, I don't see Benacer going. I think Benacer stays.
I think it's too. I mean, I don't know.
I think Adli does end up leaving because I think he needs time. He wants to be in that France squad. So I don't think he'll go to another club in Italy. Okay. I think he ends up in either a French team, possibly Premier League, with a bit of a French accent to their team, for example. I could see him fitting in very well at something like a Tottenham. But I don't see Benacer going anywhere. But if you can get rid of Pobega, and bring Samardzich in, do it. It's a no-brainer. What does Pobega bring to the squad? What does he do? It's like Brian Cristante. It's like I don't understand what these players do anymore. They're not holding midfielders. They're not attacking midfielders. They're not defensive midfielders. They're just kind of like a number on the pitch.
Yeah.
Like, give me something more to work with.
He doesn't add anything. He doesn't. I mean, I know it's a horrible thing to say, but he doesn't actually add anything. You know, they've made Zeroli the captain of Milan Futuro, but what does it take if you're going to say you get rid of Pobega and you bring Samardzic, right? You lose that Italian player. Why can't you just put Zeroli into the first team? He's clearly good enough. He's been playing the under-19s. He's already got 2 goals. Like,
he's got 2 goals. He's an incredible. He's great feet, forward passing. Yeah, it's where it makes me laugh about Declan Rice. Declan Rice, at the end of the Euro 2021 tournament, was whinging about the fact that he sees himself as this elite talent, and that he's worth easily 100 million. Gets bought for the 100 million. Now, don't get me wrong, he's a good player.
Yeah.
But in the final, how many forward passes did Declan Rice make?
Probably 0.
1.
Okay, that's better than I thought.
Declan Rice made 1 pass forward. Now, everybody can say, oh, that's because of tactics and manager. And I know we've got to wrap up because I've got to crack on back with my work here. But
Yeah.
Are you telling me someone who's worth 100 million can't figure out for themselves on the pitch that they've got to pass it forward once? Once. More than one. 2012, Pirlo passed more than the whole of the England team versus England. Pirlo made more completed passes than the whole of the England team. Now, I'm not saying Zeroli is the next Pirlo, but when people compare Declan Rice to Pirlo,
oh, come
on. Really?
Who does that?
Oh, who? Prem heads, TalkSport.
Come on. How?
Right.
How?
So
Declan Rice is so sideways. He's such a sideways player. He went from being Irish to English overnight. I've never seen that before.
Well, I saw it after Brexit, to be honest, but the other way. So a lot of people all of a sudden had an Irish granddad, didn't they? And they could never have possibly voted for it, even though statistically speaking, 1 in 3 did. Anyway, so 1 in 3 did, 1 in 3 didn't. And the third one decided, I'm not going to bother because I don't understand it. So, and we've been living with the consequences since. So, this is my point. Lab Griller, brilliant. Yeah, seeing youth integration could be central to bringing the Italian fan base together again. Costs nothing. 100% that. 100%. Why can't you bring Zeroli into the mix? Why can't you bring... And as well, and I'm saying this, you've got to get Camarda in that squad. Milan youth is not for the likes of Camarda. Camarda is showing he's good enough. He's showing he can mix it up. He's 16, is he just turned 17 or is he still 16?
I think he only just turned 16.
Right, it's probably only, so yeah. There is the legal aspect, but again, he managed to still get a game with us last season because of permission from his parents, right? Are we saying that we're not clever enough to just walk over to the parents' house and say, sign this form, yeah? Bang.
Well, hold on a minute. So that's a perfect segue. So he is tied into his first professional contract now.
Yeah.
So this week, official, finally, Camarda signed into a first professional contract up until 2027. He is part of the Milan Futuro setup. That's what he's been advocated as. But you're not wrong at all. Why can't he play in the first team? There's nothing that stops him from playing in the first team other than the choices. Now, I am a little bit in between with this one because I don't want him burnt out. I don't want him ruined. I don't want his confidence burned. I want him slowly integrated properly because that is potentially the first generational Italian talent we've had since Donnarumma. I think would be, potentially would be fair to say. Donnarumma hoisted into the first team at 16, but Donnarumma was like 6'5", whatever he is, 7, whatever. Goalkeeper, slightly different position, lots of pressure, but in a slightly different way to a forward, I think. So I'm in the sort of double one of, absolutely needs to play first team minutes next season, but he needs to be slowly integrated in, I think, personally. But again, you've seen him in the Euros, Yamal turned 17 during the Euros. If you're physically capable,
or the day before.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're physically capable, if you can do it, if you've got what it takes, then play them. Just don't we need to remember Yamal played a season for Barca before he played that Euros, and he played every week consistently. He was one of their better players. Kamada hasn't had that. So my word of caution is just Galma with him.
Yeah,
absolutely needs to play some first team football.
This is the point. In the 80s and the 90s, right? People say that the reason why the Italian team had been so good up until the early 2000s was because basically we had a system which was promoting these players that were coming through. I've got to say, Gianluca Vialli, Mancini, they were both at Coverciano at the same time as youth talents, right? One was from Cremona, the other was Samp, wasn't it? Was he at Samp at that point? A Samp youth product? I can't remember. 1982, Mancini nearly got into the Italy squad, but he didn't play, right? He didn't get selected in the end. Why? Because he broke curfew and Enzo Berzot kicked him out of the squad. That was 1982. Gianluca Vialli was a hero, really, in 86, 88, 90. Again, we had players coming through. Then we get the Totti, the Del Pieros, or the Del Piero before Totti. We have all of that era of footballers. And then obviously the one in between was Baggio. Generational talents. My point is, I think we have them. I believe we have them. They're just not coming through. So this Milan youth, if you want to open it up to having an Inter youth, a Juve youth, I mean, Inter won't be able to pay them because they can't even pay their first team properly anyway. But like a Roma youth, whatever, and you've got that league as a league of its own, in its own weird way, within Serie C or C1 or C2, you make it so that there can never be a promotion. But what you're doing is you're basically saying, right, shepherd these guys in. If they're showing half a season worth of talent, then the actual legal decree should be get them in. Get them in to play. Because it's the only way you're going to get these players in. It's the only way. And this camera angle makes my hand look massive. But I've just realized, if you're only listening to this podcast, my hand looks huge, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I mean, they are big hands, but it just looks really big in this case. So my point is, we should be getting these players in. We should be bringing the youth talents in. We should be getting our identity back with these Italian players. I'll get Alex onto the podcast and he can talk about it. I mean, Alex is actually older than me. So, he's the great Zio Milanista.
Wow, no. Call him
No,
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Still millennial. We're both exennials, me and Alex. So we don't talk about it. Don't talk.
All right, look, we've got to 42 minutes when we said
we've got to clear, mate. I've got to clap on.
So just last thing, and then we'll end it there. Morata. So Morata official, 13 million euro release clause triggered, 4.5 mils a season, 4-year contract. Give me your last thoughts before we end the podcast, now that it's official.
Needed. We needed somebody that was a bit more versatile than Giroud. We're losing Giroud. We needed somebody that could hold up a ball. We needed somebody that had leadership qualities. We needed somebody that can bollock the players when it's needed to. You bring somebody like Camarda into the squad. He's precisely the player you want advising Camarda. You don't want somebody like Leao. As much as I love Leao, you just don't want somebody like Leao advising. You want somebody like Morata to basically keep that head calm. So, but I think he'll do that generally around the squad. I think he's somebody that's got those kind of leadership qualities that we need. And he showed it at the Euros. He wasn't getting the goals, but what was he doing? He was into lick and play. He was keeping heads up. Spain would go a goal behind or a goal, or they'd be up and then they'd be drawing and they head was straight up. I'm not a keeper. I'm a defender, midfielder. A lab gorilla. I thought I was a keeper. And Zaroli, why, get Zaroli in. So totally on Morata. I mean, I know your thoughts are they mirror it really, don't they? Just about bringing him in. You're saying so much last time, but what key thing do you think that he's going to bring into this squad that we've been lacking?
I think it's the mobility up front. I think that's the biggest key thing. Giroud, we love Giroud. Everyone knows how much we love Giroud, but mobility was poor, especially towards the end of that season.
Yeah.
And he was in the right place at the right time. But when we were building phase of players, when we were attacking, he was always too slow or late into the box. So
he was either too deep or he was too advanced.
Spot on, perfect.
Yeah.
So I think Morata will do well at keeping up with the wingers. Essentially, for me, it's the perfect Moneyball signing, if you want to put it that way. So he costs 13 million euros release clause. He's 31, so he's not in the 35, 36. He's not in the 27, 26. He's still in prime. He plays the right style, so he can play as a false nine. He can play as a centre attacking. He can do the full whack. He's got 21 goals last season, all comps. He's got a load of assists as well. So if you look at him from a stat point of view, he ticks all the boxes.
Yeah.
He's a leader, like you just said. He's a captain of Spain. He's also played in La Liga, in the Premiership. He's played for Juve, so he has got Serie A experience. His wife's Italian. You know, there's lots of things that work perfectly for the signing. So for me, at first, I was a bit sort of disappointed. I was like, flipping it, we were going to spend 45, 50 mil on a young Xerxes, you know, get the fans excited, big budget spend from Milan finally. And then that was kind of cooling off, and we heard about the 15 mil commissions. And I was like, that's absolutely ridiculous. We cannot pay that.
Yeah.
And we've essentially got this Moneyball signing for less than the supposed commissions that Kia wanted for Xerxes. It's a no-brainer. Absolutely no-brainer. It's a great signing. Now, for me, I'm just waiting to see what we do now, because we've saved a lot of money on Morata.
A lot of money.
Brilliant. So where's the investment coming now for the rest of the quality?
Yeah.
What we're going to spend in defence? What we're going to spend in midfield? What does our bench look like? Are we going to have enough players that can help integrate these youth players? Because you can't just have Zaroli, Kamada, just throw them in. They've got to have the right quality to be able to play them in properly. So for me, the Morata signing is not just about Morata. It's also about, like we talked earlier, the strategy piece. Great. Brilliant. Why spend 50 mil if you can get this forward for 13? Why would you spend more money if you don't have to? It makes perfect business sense. But
I'm gonna repeat what Martino said. We will not have a statement signing.
No, and I think he's right, but I don't think we ever will. I don't think we ever
not with
will.
These owners.
I don't
not
know.
With these owners.
To talk about, you know, again, you quote Martino, I quote Matt Santangelo. He literally put a tweet out. It said 20 mil's a sweet spot. That's about it. And actually, why would you pay 35 for someone that's worth 20? You wouldn't. But what you do have to do is move quicker. We are slow. We are really slow. We need to get a move on.
We're like Gino in the final year.
Yeah, we need to fill the team up. We're going for a tour of USA. We still don't have. Okay, we'll get the internationals back. We know what they are. Most of them have already played for Milan. We just don't know what we're getting yet, and we need to get a move on. And that's. I'll probably kind of leave it there, Gino, if that's all right with you.
I've got a crack on, mate. So yeah.
All right, look, guys, thank you very much for watching live. Thank you very much for joining, Gino. You can get us underneath the link underneath. Follow us on Spotify, Apple. We're on Overcast as well. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining. Have a great week. And Forza Milan.